Good morning. Welcome to e-learning classes. So today zoology class. I will explain blood. Okay. So we are studying about the connective tissues. So tissues in our body, 4 types of tissues. In that connective tissue is one type. In that connective tissues again different types are there. So the supportive tissues like bone and cartilages, then fluid connective tissues, fluid connective tissue. Fluid connective tissue. In the human body, fluid connective tissues are the blood and lymph, because blood and lymph are present in liquid form. That's why it is called fluid connective tissue, and it is circulating in the blood vessels, blood capillaries, arteries, veins, capillaries, and also one more is there, that is lymph. Lymph is flowing in the lymph capillaries and lymphatic vessels and also lymphatic duct. It is a fluid connective tissue. Okay, the tissues which are in the form of fluid are called fluid connective tissues. So first one, let us start the blood. Blood is a fluid connective tissue. What is the composition of the blood? What are the components present in the blood? Okay, and what are the functions of the blood? So where the blood is present in the human body? In the human body, blood is circulating in the blood vessels. Okay, it is circulating in the blood vessels, and it is opaque red color fluid. Red color is due to the presence of hemoglobin. One respiratory pigment is present in the human blood. Due to the presence of the respiratory pigment in the RBCs, RBCs are red in color. That's why blood is also red in color. So red colored, opaque, and flowing or circulating in the cardiovascular system. Fluid connective tissue is circulating in the cardiovascular system. Cardio, heart, vascular, blood vessels, system. Okay, cardiovascular system. In that cardiovascular system, heart and blood vessels are present. In the heart and blood vessels, blood is flowing. It is in the form of fluid connective tissue. It is a fluid connective tissue. First, we look at the functions of blood. What are the functions of blood? Okay, what are the functions of blood? So, blood is useful for transport of gases. It is useful for the transport of gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide. Oxygen, which is present in the lungs, is transported to the different parts of the body. Then carbon dioxide, which is formed in different parts of the body, is transported to the lungs through this medium only, through the fluid connective tissue, through the blood only. Oxygen and carbon dioxide are transported. That is the first function. Then transport of nutrients. Nutrients, if we eat the food materials, the food materials are digested. The digested food materials are releasing into blood. The digested food materials are releasing into blood. Through the blood only they circulate to various parts of the body. So in our body, each and every part of our body that get the food material through the blood only. Okay, so it transport the food materials like nutrients, and also it transport the hormones. It transport the hormones to various parts of the body or to the target organs. One hormone is releasing from one gland, okay, releasing into blood, and it is act on the another organ, target organ. So the hormones which are releasing from the glands are transported to the target organs through the blood only. So transport of hormones is also one function of fluid connective tissue like blood. Okay. Next, these are the functions. It also carry the gases, nutrients, and it supply the hormones to various parts of the body. Okay. Next, study of blood. study of blood is called hematology. Hematology is the study of blood. Hematology, it is a study of blood. Hematology. So how much amount of blood is present in the human body? 5 to 6 liters. 5 to 6 liters of blood is present. Somewhat blood is less in the women comparing with the men due to the menstrual cycles. So during the menstrual cycle, some amount of blood is lost in the women. That's why some amount of blood, approximately 4.5 to 5 liters of blood is present in the women. 5 to 5.5 liters of blood, approximately 5 to 6 liters. 5 to 6 liters of blood is present in the men. So some amount of blood is less in the woman due to the presence of menstrual cycles. During the menstrual cycle, some amount of blood is lost. So some more amount of blood is present in the men comparing with the women. Okay, so hematology is the study of blood, and the amount of blood in the human beings is 5 to 6 liters. Then where it is flowing? It is flowing in the blood vessels. Blood is flowing in the blood vessels. It is flowing in the blood vessels, and also it is flowing in the heart. Heart is a pumping device which pumps the blood to various parts of the body. It pumps the blood to various parts of the body and also pumps the blood to the lungs for oxygenation. Heart pumps the blood to lungs and also it pumps the blood to various parts of the body. It is a pumping device. Heart is a pumping device which supply the blood to various parts of the body. General information about the blood. Next, what are the components of blood? What are the components present in the blood? Components. So, fluid connective tissue or blood, it consists blood. It consists plasma. It is plasma and formed elements. Formed elements. Plasma and formed elements are the two components present in the blood. Plasma. Okay, plasma. 55% of the blood that consists the plasma. 55% of the blood consists the plasma, and 45% it is with the formed elements. Okay, 45% with the formed elements. Formed elements like blood cells. Formed elements means blood cells, which consists the RBC, red blood cells, WBC, and platelets. RBC, WBC, and platelets are the formed elements which constitute 45%. 45% of blood that consists the formed elements like blood cells like RBC, WBC, and platelets. Then 55% of the fluid present in the blood is the plasma. Okay, now what are the components present in the plasma? What are the components present in the plasma? In the plasma, 92% of the plasma is with water. 92% of the plasma is with water. Most of the amount of the blood that consists water only. So 92% of the plasma that constitutes water only, and remaining 8% that consists other solutes. Again, other solutes, 8%. 92% of the plasma that consists the water, and 8% that consists solutes. What are the solutes present in the blood plasma? Okay, what are the solutes present in the blood plasma? So, solutes are the first plasma proteins. Plasma proteins. Plasma proteins. In the plasma, proteins are present. Okay, proteins are present which are called albumins. Albumins, globulins. Albumins, globulins. Fibrinogen. Fibrinogen, prothrombin. Fibrinogen, prothrombin. Then heparin. Heparin. Albumin, globulins, fibrinogen, prothrombin, and heparin. So, albumins. Albumins are the smallest plasma proteins, smallest and more abundant. Smallest, very small in size, smallest and more abundant cells, more abundant proteins are the albumins. What is the function of albumin? Albumins that maintain the blood colloidal osmotic pressure. Blood colloidal osmotic pressure. What is the meaning of blood colloidal osmotic pressure? That maintain the salt and water balance in the blood. Blood colloidal osmotic pressure. Okay, the pressure which is present inside the blood, it is exerted by these albumins only. So, due to the loss of albumins, that causes some diseases like edema. Edema means swelling of body parts due to the losing of albumins. So, first type of plasma proteins are the albumins. Albumins are smallest and more abundant, which are helping in the maintaining of blood and colloidal osmotic pressure. Second one, globulins. Globulins, mainly three types of globulins are present: alpha, beta and gamma. Okay, alpha, beta, gamma, three types of globulins are present. Here gamma globulins, gamma globulins, gamma globulins also called as immunoglobulins, also called as immunoglobulins. Alpha, beta, gamma, three types of globulins are also present in the blood plasma. In that, gamma globulins are also called as immunoglobulins, which are responsible for the production of antibodies. Okay, production of antibodies. What is the function of antibody? So whenever the microorganism enters into our body, enters into our blood, so these antibodies are released. Antibodies are releasing from lymphocytes. Okay, so these antibodies are a type of immunoglobulins which are producing from these beta gamma globulins or immunoglobulins. Immunoglobulins or gamma globulins, they release the antibodies. Mainly 5 types of antibodies are present in our blood. So production of antibodies is the function of gamma globulin. Next, fibrinogen and prothrombin. Fibrinogen and prothrombin are the clotting factors. Fibrinogen and prothrombin are the clotting factors which helps in the clotting of blood. Whenever our blood vessel is injured, when any damage occurs in our blood vessel, again when any damage occurs in our skin, so blood vessel ruptured. Due to the rupturing of the blood vessel, the blood comes out. At that time, within 3 to 5 minutes, the blood clots and prevents the flowing of blood. That is prevented by the clotting of blood. Okay, clotting of blood by these factors which are called clotting factors like fibrinogen and prothrombin. Fibrinogen, prothrombin are releasing from the liver, and these are the proteins present in the plasma called plasma proteins. Heparin, we know that heparin. What is heparin? Heparin is an anticoagulant. It is an anticoagulant. Anticoagulant that prevents the clotting of blood while the blood flowing inside the blood vessel. When the blood is flowing inside the blood vessel, it will not clot. Okay, continuously it is transported, circulate due to the presence of this anticoagulant which is called heparin. Okay, so we are discussing about the plasma proteins. Inside the plasma, what are the proteins? Albumins. Albumins are the smallest and more abundant proteins which maintain the blood colloidal osmotic pressure. Then globulins. Globulins are of 3 types like alpha, beta, gamma globulins. Gamma globulins or immunoglobulins are responsible for the production of antibodies. Then prothrombin, fibrinogen, prothrombin are the clotting factors which helps in the clotting of blood. Next, heparin. Heparin is an anticoagulant. It is an anticoagulant which prevents the clotting of blood. When the blood is flowing inside of our blood vessel, it will not clot due to the presence of heparin, which is an anticoagulant. Okay, so these are the plasma proteins. Plasma proteins, not only plasma proteins, it also consists hormones. Blood plasma that also consists the hormones which are releasing from the endocrine glands. Then gases, respiratory gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide. Okay, respiratory gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide. Next, nutrients. Nutrients, glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, all are the nutrients which are supplied to various parts of the body. So it also consists the nutrients. It consists salts also, salts. Okay, salts are the sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium are the salts. Different types of salts are also present. Then minerals are present. Then vitamins. Okay, now vitamins, all these are the components which are present in the blood plasma. Okay, now so solutes, these are under the solutes. 92% of plasma is with water only, but 8% of the plasma that consists the other solutes. So other solutes are the plasma proteins like albumins, globulins, fibrinogen, prothrombin, heparin. Albumins maintain the blood colloidal osmotic pressure. Globulins, they helping in the production of antibodies. Fibrinogen and prothrombin, those are the clotting factors. Heparin, anticoagulant. Hormones, gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide. Then nutrients. Then salts like sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium. Then minerals and vitamins. All these are the components which are solutes which are present in the plasma of blood. Okay, plasma of blood that consists this type of materials. All these are the materials which are present in the blood plasma. Okay, so it consists 55% of the blood that consists the plasma only. And remaining 45% of the blood that consists the formed elements. It consists the formed elements. So what are the formed elements? Formed elements are nothing but formed elements are the blood cells. Formed elements are the blood cells. So blood cells are here RBC or erythrocytes. RBC or erythrocytes. WBC also called as leukocytes. WBC, leukocytes, and platelets are also present. So first one we look at the RBC. Generally formed elements, these formed elements are formed from embryonic mesoderm. In the embryo, when the baby is present inside the mother, in the embryo, so in the starting stages, these formed elements are forming from the embryonic mesoderm. In the embryo, these are forming from the embryonic mesoderm. Then after few days, these are producing from the liver and spleen. Okay, blood cells are producing from the liver and spleen after few days. Next, before birth, just before birth, then after birth. Before birth and after birth, these are producing from the red bone marrow. Already we discussed about the red bone marrow in the bone, in the structure of compact bone. Spongy bone and compact bone. Spongy bone that consists the red bone marrow. Then compact bone that consists yellow bone marrow. Red bone marrow is responsible for the production of the blood cells. Then yellow bone marrow, it is not involving in the production of blood cells, but during the emergency condition only yellow bone marrow that produce the blood cells. So red bone marrow that produce the blood cells before birth and after birth or in the adult. Okay, or in the adult. So in the starting stages of the embryo, embryonic mesoderm that produce the blood cells. Then after a few days, liver and spleen. Then just before the birth and after birth, red bone marrow is responsible for the production of the formed elements, which are RBCs or erythrocytes, WBC, leukocytes and platelets are forming from these parts of our body in the embryo and also in the adult. Okay. Then production of the blood cells is called hemopoiesis. Production of blood cells is called hemopoiesis. Production of blood cells like RBC, erythropoiesis, WBC, leukopoiesis. The production of WBC is called leukopoiesis. Production of RBC called erythropoiesis. So first we move on to the RBC. First type of formed elements which are called RBC. Okay. RBC also called as erythrocytes or red blood cells. RBC are red blood cells. The production of the RBC, production of RBC is called erythropoiesis. Production of RBC is called erythropoiesis. Number of RBCs in the human blood. So number of RBCs are the 4.5 millions per cubic millimeter of blood in the woman, in the females. Next 5 millions per cubic mm of blood in the men. So amount of blood is less in the women. Amount of RBCs are also less. Just 4.5 millions per cubic mm of blood present in the women. In the men, 5 millions. 5 millions of RBCs are present. Okay, now what is the lifespan of RBC? RBC lifespan 120 days. 120 days is the lifespan of RBC. So after 120, they are destroyed in the liver and also spleen. Again, they are destroyed in the liver and spleen. So liver and spleen are playing an important role in the production of RBC in the embryos. At the same time, in the adult, they are involving in the destruction of RBCs. After 120 days, that RBCs are destroyed in the liver and RBCs. So burial ground of RBCs are the liver and spleen. So lifespan is 120 days is the lifespan of RBCs. And production of RBC is called erythropoiesis. Number of RBCs are 4.5 millions and 5 millions in women and men. So some less number of RBCs are present in the women comparing with the men. Lifespan is 120 days. And after 120 days, they are destroyed in the liver and spleen. Okay, liver and spleen. Next, RBC, it consists. RBCs are circular. Structure of RBC, circular. These are circular, round. Okay, circular, biconcave, both the sides concave, present like this. Okay, Rolex arrangement, just like Rolex arrangement, biconcave, enucleated, circular, round, biconcave, like this. Enucleated means absence of nucleus. So nucleus is absent. Not only nucleus, it also without mitochondria and endoplasmic reticulum. mitochondria and endoplasmic reticulum both are absent. Okay, nucleus and some cell organelles like mitochondria and ER also absent in the RBCs. But only in the human beings, in the mammals only that RBCs are enucleated. But in the fishes, amphibians, reptiles, aves, so RBCs are nucleated. Why it is called enucleated? Enucleated nucleus is generally present, but in one stage during the maturation. During maturation of the RBC, that nucleus is dissolved, nucleus is damaged, or nucleus is disappear. Nucleus is disappear during one stage, which is called a reticulocyte stage. Reticulocyte stage. So during the reticulocytic stage, it is a maturation stage. Immature RBC matures. While the immature RBCs are maturing, so it is passing through one stage, which is called reticulocytic stage. In the immature RBC, nucleus is present, but during maturation, the nucleus is disappear. Okay, nucleus is disappear. So nucleus is disappear during this stage, which is called reticulocytic stage. During the reticulocytic stage, it is disappear. That's why it is enucleated. Generally, immature RBC. Immature RBC that consists nucleus. But mature RBC nucleus is disappear. It is disappear. In which stage it disappear? In the reticulocytic stage it disappear. Okay, nucleus disappear during the reticulocytic stage or maturation stage, it disappear. So that enucleated, biconcave, circular and enucleated RBCs. Then here biconcave shape that increases surface area. It increases the surface area. That's why it transport the more amount of the oxygen. Okay, so oxygen is combining with the RBC and it is transported between the lungs and body parts. While it is transporting between the lungs and body parts, oxygen is transported to the surface of the RBC. So surface of the RBC is increased by having this type of shape like biconcave shape that increases surface area for transportation of the more amount of the oxygen and carbon dioxide. Okay, now we are studying about the RBCs, erythrocytes, red blood cells. The production of the RBC is called erythropoiesis. Then number of RBCs are 4.5 millions in the women and 5 millions in the men. Lifespan 120 days. Then structure of RBCs are circular, biconcave, enucleated. Absence of nucleus, mitochondria and endoplasmic reticulum also absent. Reticulocytic stage. During this stage, nucleus is disappear. Nucleus is disappear during the reticulocytic stage. Okay. Then in the RBC, sometimes number of RBC will be increases. Okay. Abnormal increase in the number of RBCs. Abnormal increase in the number of RBCs. This condition is called polycythemia. Polycythemia increasing in the number of RBCs called polycythemia. Then sometimes number of RBCs are decreases. Number of RBCs are decreases. Decrease number of RBC called erythrocytopenia. Erythrocytopenia, that is decreasing in the number of RBCs. So both are the abnormal conditions. Abnormal condition if number of RBCs are increasing abnormally, more amount. So this condition is called polycythemia. Then decreasing in the number of RBC is called erythrocytopenia, nothing but anemia. Loss of RBCs. This condition is called anemia. Then the most important component present in the RBC. What is the most important component present in the RBC? That is the respiratory pigment. Respiratory pigment. So respiratory pigment present in the RBC is the hemoglobin. Hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the respiratory pigment which is useful for the transport of gases. So oxygen and carbon dioxide, they are combining with the hemoglobin. Oxygen is combining with the hemoglobin, that converting into oxyhemoglobin. Then carbon dioxide is combining with the hemoglobin, that converting into the carboxyhemoglobin. When the oxygen is combining with the hemoglobin, it is called oxyhemoglobin. When the hemoglobin combining with the carbon dioxide, called carboxyhemoglobin. So it is involving in the transport of gases like oxygen and carbon dioxide. So structure of hemoglobin. Hemoglobin, it is made up with the two portions which are called heme and globin. Okay, now 4 heme molecules and 4 globin molecules are present in the hemoglobin. Okay, each heme molecule that consists one ferrous ion in the center. Each ferrous ion is combining with the one oxygen molecule. That means one hemoglobin that deliver the 4 oxygen molecules. One heme molecule or one hemoglobin that deliver the 4 oxygen molecules from the lungs to tissues. Okay, one hemoglobin that deliver the 4 oxygen molecule, approximately 100 ml of blood that deliver the 5 ml of oxygen. 100 ml of blood that deliver the 5 ml of oxygen from lungs to tissues. Okay, components of hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is a respiratory pigment. This respiratory pigment that consists 2 parts like heme and globin. So each heme that consists ferrous ion, each ferrous is combining with one oxygen molecule. So globin, 4 globin molecules are present and one hemoglobin that deliver the 4 oxygen molecules. 4 oxygen molecules are delivered. Then 100 ml of blood, 100 ml of blood that can deliver the 5 ml of oxygen. 5 ml of oxygen. When the oxygen is combining with the hemoglobin, it is converting into oxyhemoglobin, which is called oxygenation. Oxygenation of blood. At lungs, oxygen is combining with the hemoglobin. So it is called oxygenation of blood. Then at tissues, so hemoglobin that releases the carbon dioxide. It releases the oxygen and combining with the carbon dioxide. Okay, it releases oxygen. It releases the oxygen and combining with the carbon dioxide. So it becomes carboxyhemoglobin. Oxyhemoglobin when the hemoglobin is combining with oxygen. Carboxyhemoglobin when the hemoglobin is combining with the carbon dioxide, which is called carboxyhemoglobin. So hemoglobin, amount of hemoglobin 12 to 15 grams per 100 ml of blood, 12 to 15 grams. If the amount of hemoglobin is decreases, it also causes a disease which is called anemia. Loss of hemoglobin or loss of RBC, that causes a disease which is called anemia. Erythrocytopenia, decreasing in the number of RBCs or decreasing in the amount of hemoglobin. So how much amount of hemoglobin is present? Hemoglobin amount is 12 to 15 grams present in the blood. In the RBC, 12 to 15 grams. Okay. So hemoglobin is a respiratory pigment which supply the blood to various parts of the which supply the oxygen and carbon dioxide. It supply the oxygen and carbon dioxide to various parts of the body. Okay, so this is about RBC. First type of formed elements are the RBCs. Production of RBC called erythropoiesis. Then increasing in the number of RBCs called polycythemia. Decreasing in the number of RBC is called erythrocytopenia. Then RBC or circular biconcave enucleated. Nucleus is absent. It is disappear during the reticulocytic stage. It consists respiratory pigment which is called hemoglobin, which deliver the 4 oxygen molecules to the various parts of the body from the lungs. Next, second type of formed elements. Second formed elements are the WBC. Right. WBC next. I'll discuss the WBC and platelets. I'll discuss it tomorrow. Okay, WBC, platelets are there. So we discussed today in the blood, general structure of blood, functions of blood. Then components of blood like plasma and formed elements. Plasma. So plasma, 55% plasma is present and 45% formed elements are there. In that RBC, WBC, platelets are there. We discussed about the RBC. In the next class, we'll discuss the WBC and platelets. Okay, na?